Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Snuffed. I am joined today by my lovely co-host, Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hello, Nicholas. How are you?
Oh, I'm just stellar. How are you?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here. Happy to be talking about the end of the first season.
Are you happy that it's over? Is that what you're implying?
You'll have this year to find out.
I'm happy too because Illinois won last night, so we're happy here. But anyway, we're also joined today by an extra special guest, one of my good pals. Blissy may have said that he's a nobody and Prestige Survivor, but I say he's my king and an icon. Ian, welcome back. Welcome to the podcast of Snuff for the first time, but you're no stranger to the podcast in general. So how are you?
I'm good. Happy to be here for the first time. Happy to talk about a great season. And yeah, ready to do it.
Good. You're good. Despite the fact that we've asked Ian every single episode this season to do it, and Ian has finally made time. So
we literally bent over backwards to make sure Ian was on this season.
But we were happy to do it. So, Ian, overall, before we get into the details of the merge, what was your overall impression of this merge era of the game? Did you think it was a good merge? Did you think it was dull at times? Did you think it was dull overall? What was your take on the merge this season?
I didn't think it was dull. When coming into the merge, you kind of knew there was a few different duos that were going to try and kind of vie for power between Henry, Tim, Jacob, Jose, B, Scott, the newly formed duo. And I thought that it was going to kind of play out how it did. You had the more stable social players kind of take over and run the game, which some could perceive as boring. But I thought it was interesting just because of how the dynamics played out, especially towards the mid-merge. So I enjoyed it.
Okay. Jason?
Yeah.
I was like, is he here?
No, yeah, I would say there were no surprises. And when I say that, I'm it's kind of underwhelming merge in my mind because there were not as many surprises as I would like to have seen. It kind of became a double or a duos game. Mm-hmm. And it didn't feel like we saw the duos battle as intense as we were kind of ready for and we was kind of all going towards. And then it kind of just ended. So I was I don't know. I was there was a climax, but then there wasn't a very big climax. We'll say that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anytime there was an opportunity for there to be entertainment, it was they were trying to be anti-entertaining, except for one tribal council, which we will get to. But when that is the highlight of the merge, I don't know. It's not
yeah,
it was giving very much first season vibes.
True.
We'll say that. What are your thoughts, Nick?
Very true.
Yeah, I think the beginning of the merge, I was just and mind you, the beginning of the merge I think was kind of when I was gone for the bar, I want to say. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me look. Hold on. I think
March 6th.
Oh no, I was fully gone. Or fully not gone. Because I was back February 27th. So that was before the merge happened. So literally that's my concept of time right now. But overall, the beginning of the merge, I was just kind of okay, that's it. Everyone that went early merge, I kind of expected to. There was not really, like Jason said, any surprises. There wasn't really any blind sides per se. I mean, you could argue possibly Jamie, but even then, Jamie kind of knew that she was kind of being written down because she slipped up and found herself in hot water pretty quickly. But as a whole, though, it was good as it progressed. But even then, too, it was still kind of predictable as to what was going to happen. To be fair, I am pleased with the result of what happened. I love Henry. He's a great winner. But I was oh, God, do something. Give us something.
like I agree. Like I think the winner is great. There's no problem with how the outcome happened, but because of like it was so masterfully handled, that took away the entertainment that we were all waiting for.
That's true.
Right? Like turned Bliss on Vine for some weird reason. They got like it was such a good play. Henry, amazing gameplay. And at the end of the day, like I would like to, like, I don't care if I win a season if it's entertaining. You win a season. So like at the end of the day, he did what he had to do. He was delusional in some of the like moves that he made, but it got him the win. So it doesn't matter that Brian and V didn't throw those rogue votes. He believed it and got them out and got everyone to believe him. So
that was literally the like most unhinged bullshit I'd have had to watch happen, because he was just so absolutely certain that it was Brian and V.
Right.
And I'm like, I understand that like this like V suspicion, because V was just genuinely maneuvering as a shitty person throughout this season, but Brian really wasn't, to me. Like, I don't, maybe I'm biased towards Brian, so I like Brian a lot, but like I think that Brian was actually playing probably one of the more honest and straightforward games. But I don't know. I think that Henry and Brian were having a diva off, and Henry won the battle, unfortunately, even though Brian wasn't aware that there was a battle to have. But I think there was just a lot of, like you guys said, duos that were happening that like most of the time there was such a severe apprehension of ever turning on your duo. Like, we never saw Tim turn on Henry or try to turn on Henry. We saw Bliss turn on Vine, but like, who cares? And then but like Jacob and Jose never turned against each other. What the fuck was that noise?
Not my end, so.
Okay, so it's definitely Jason.
It might have been a door opening in the house.
That was a squeaky ass door. Put some WD-40 on that bitch. But Pixie and Sammy also, like these people just were not really flipping at any point. So I'm like, okay. But overall, though, like I think we had a great cast of personalities. However, the gameplay wasn't as exciting, despite who the cast was. So that's kind of a drawback for me. But overall, I don't think it was like bad, but I think it was dull, personally, at certain points. But Jason, would you like to start covering the next portion?
Sure. Yeah, we're just going to kind of go through the merge and talk through all of the gameplay and all that fun stuff. So we'll start with Jamie becoming the first casualty, the first juror of the Prestige era. Were there any surprises? Like, is anybody here surprised that Jamie was the first to go? Were you sad to see them go? Like, what ultimately went wrong in Jamie's game? Because they had such a strong pre-merge game to go home first. Ian, what were your thoughts on Jamie being the first to go?
Well, I thought Jamie was playing well in the pre-merge for a lot of it. I think, as the pre-merge went on and trust started to wane with certain people, just because she was kind of creating alliances with a lot of people started to kind of see her true colors a little bit more. Well, I guess what some folks kind of put out there as her true colors. I think some people wanted her gone and were kind of poisoning the well for a couple of rounds. Obviously, there was the failed attempt at Jamie towards the end of the pre-merge, which I think really set it up on a tee for her to go at the beginning of the merge, because you had already laid the groundwork for people to get her out. So I wasn't particularly surprised, especially for those who actually didn't know Jamie. They were just going to go along with an easy vote, which is kind of story of the game a little bit.
Yeah. There wasn't a lot of split votes either this season, which was heartbreaking to see. Like, make shit up. I want bitches to start throwing votes again. Like, next season, if you're listening to this and you're applying for Shadowlands, you better fucking be throwing some extra votes or just tossing your vote somewhere else, because this shit was boring to an extent with like the unanimous votes. We had far too many of those. Anyway,
literally,
that's my hot take. But in regards to Jamie, I think that she was a great character. I just think that she was unfortunately a target of circumstance and got the boot early. I would have liked to see her go further, because I think that she was kind of one of the more interesting and compelling personalities throughout the pre-merge. So I was kind of bummed that she did not make it further in the game. But such is life.
Yeah, I agree. I think like Jamie was so strong on that pre-merge, like making moves happen and like lying straight to Pixie and Ben. Like it was so, but almost like played too strong, like showed her hands too
Yeah.
early. And I don't really know why. Like the other guys kind of turned on her like so soon, but once it was out there, there was no coming back from it. But I was sad to see her go first because she is such a strong player, but there really wasn't a way out at that point. Like once, like Ian said, once the well was soured there, it's like there was no turning back, which made for a very anticlimactic
True.
start to the merge.
No doubt.
Then we went into the One Day Tribes. What do you guys think about the One Day Tribes twist? And how do you like? What are your thoughts on the outcome of this season's One Day Tribes? Nick, would you like to start?
Sure. I think in practice they're fun. Like they can be fun. However, I think I would have liked them more had we seen there be more of a separation of the duos. The only duo that was really separated was Henry and Tim. Like Jacob and Jose were together, Sammy and Pixie were together still. There wasn't a lot of excitement happening for me personally. V, I feel like was an easy boot at any point in the season, to be honest. Like I love V down, but I think that like they started off a target and then they never like they never got that target off their back. Because Iguana was winning so much, I think that made it easier. And also they went into a swap with majority of their original tribe, and it was kind of more so just original tribe lines that they were playing. So I think V got lucky in that regard a bit, but I wasn't surprised to see V go. And Scott, I was bummed to see Scott go, but ultimately I will never in my life understand why someone who has played this game 3 fucking times, at least in this server alone before this, thought it was a good idea to give somebody else an idol.
We'll get into that.
It made, first of all, it made no sense on paper to begin with. It made no fucking sense. There was no reason to. Bliss was never in danger. There was just, it was just such like a crapshoot of like, what the hell are we doing? It made no sense to me at all. It was fucking stupid. I will die on that hill.
Like, not only was it stupid, yes, but like Scott admitted he wouldn't have played the idol, and in his confessional afterwards was like saying he wouldn't have played it because he felt confident. But I'm like, how are you confident when you've got Henry, Jacob, Jose on that tribe with you, and Pixie and Sammy, right? Whereas the other two, but like, how did you feel confident in that group?
Right.
It's kind of the story of Scott's game, right? Feeling confident, feeling like he's the one deriving the situations when, you know, and he, for instance, he always had Bliss at the beginning of his trust rankings, but you look at other people, for instance, Bliss's trust rankings, and he's a lot lower down. And I think that was just due to like the false confidence that he had of feeling like he's missing these people and he's pulling them in. But you have to have a little bit more subtlety than that. And that's what he kind of lacked throughout this game.
Yeah, I don't know, because again, like Scott is a prime example of somebody like Jamie who had a relatively good pre-merge that just kind of like felt, I don't know how, but just fell apart so quickly that it was just like, I don't know how that happened. I hate that it happened for you, but like, what was that? You know,
that is a really good point though. Like, I just feel like a lot of the early merge boots just had such a lack of awareness of how powerful the Oceans 4 were. Like, they had no idea that they were pulling the strings this entire game.
Right.
Yeah. I think that some of that stems from the pre-merge too, where it never really appeared. Like, you had a lot of instances in which people would push like Jacob to Jose or Jose to Jacob and so on and so forth. And so it kind of just never really appeared like these duos were actually that close, which I think really benefited them. You know, people like he thought they were in control a lot more than they were, but they weren't understanding that the more subtle, like strong social players like these two duos were the ones actually pulling the strings and the ones who were actually being smart about hiding their allegiances to each other.
Yeah,
I agree. One thing that I didn't like, I don't know how I feel about, or like what I would have changed is for future seasons, maybe in the one day merge, like having everybody be able to talk to each other, I felt kind of led to two boring boots as well. Like,
True.
I think they should have been separated so they could have had their own conversations and not let the outside interference like come into the play, because everybody being able to openly discuss and like strategize, I don't know, a 4-1 and 5-1 just made it such a boring one day merge or one day tribes.
Yeah, I don't know, because obviously it wasn't our season, like Jason, you may, like for designing. So I think that like had I paid more attention in the planning process, to be honest, which I didn't, because I was, it wasn't my season anyway. So I was like, I'm gonna let Lily cook and let Lily do her thing and all that. But yeah, I think that like it didn't make any sense, like in hindsight, to have them be able to communicate with the other people. Like, you're not on the same tribe for this day, so why are we talking? It doesn't make any sense. So I think that was a little silly, because it did most definitely influence who went home that round, because it made it into an easier round, because you were able to kind of coordinate who was voting who and what tribal. So I think if we were to do like a one day tribe situation again, which I'm sure we will at some point in the future, not next season, to be clear. To be clear, not next season. But I think definitely limiting the amount, or limiting who you can talk to based on like what tribe you're on, is important, because I think it creates for more kind of dynamic interactions and strategizing that maybe we didn't get to see this season, because it was more so, I'm going to flock to my allies on the other tribe and talk about who we're voting for. And then, so I think that that may have been a fallback from the planning process, but you don't really know how it's going to affect the game until after it's happened. So,
yeah. We, in this one day tribes, we saw two, they're not returning because it's a whole new era, but previous Suitman's players get booted here. Like, do you think V and Scott redeemed themselves following their previous performances on Suitman's?
Popcorn. Yeah.
I don't know if Scott necessarily had a lot to redeem. He had 2 deep placements. I don't think he played particularly different than those games. So in that light, I guess not. But he had a relatively good history in the server. I think V came in with a lot to prove. They had, for what it's worth, flopped 2 Suitman's seasons pre-merge. And so they came in, I think, with kind of the sole goal of making it to merge and then seeing what happens. So if that's their goal, then yeah, they did redeem themselves. I think because that was their goal, though, they kind of, played hard, fast and loose at the beginning, and to get to the merge, which ultimately kind of plummeted their winning chances by the merge. But yeah, I would say so for V.
I think that Scott was kind of like Tony in Game Changers, where he was on probation, where he had, a good or 2 good placements previously, and then the most recent showing was lackluster and a second boot, if you will. So I think that Scott didn't have maybe as much to prove as V did per se. But I think that Scott also didn't play differently. Like, I've always known Scott to be a social person. I've always known Scott to be a very calculated person, but like, he's very intelligent. So like, it wasn't like a different gameplay from him. V, I think this is going to be controversial probably. And V, I'm sorry for saying it in advance, but I don't know if V necessarily, like, obviously in placement there was improvement. I think in gameplay, I don't know, like, because I don't. First of all, I don't remember a lot of what V did before. I just know that V went very early both times in Suitman's. So, but like, I think there was a bundle of nerves initially to like prove themselves, which I understand that too, because it's been a long time since they played. They've wanted to play for so long, and they have applied for virtually every returning season after Luzon and played a lot of present seasons. So there was a lot of likely built up anticipation and excitement and nerves that was obviously shown with like how quickly they were to like take a leadership role in a tribe or try to during challenges, and came across not as like domineering, but came across as definitely someone that was more of a leader on the tribe, which was routing people the wrong way to an extent and had him lower on trust rankings for folks. But I think in placement there was improvement. Obviously, that's not deniable, but I guess it was a blatant fact. But I think that the gameplay, I don't know. I don't see that V necessarily played any differently than he has before. I think that V was on a strong tribe initially to where there were easier boots in the beginning, and then the swap kind of worked out to where it was majority Iguano that kind of managed to somehow get Ben and Pixie to flip.
So we even saw a few instances in the pre-merge in which they were like almost going to get targeted.
Yeah, so I love V, but like I struggle to kind of. It's a hard question to ask, obviously, as if I didn't write it myself. But
you put a few minutes on that answer, so clearly it wasn't that hard to answer.
I'm sorry that I was going on a tangent. Damn it, there was a lot of nuance.
And you were.
Jason, what are your second thoughts?
You did bring up a lot of good points, though. However, I like obviously V improved by placement, which means it's an improvement in game. There were like coming in so eager and like with information on the game, I feel probably didn't help them out as much as they think it did.
Right.
Ultimately, like they were in a pretty good spot at that swap and worked very well at like with Jamie, Jacob, Jose. The only thing, and this is where like you make a good point where like the gameplay did not improve necessarily, is like come the merge, you took ownership of Jamie going home, but Jamie was a number for you.
Yeah, I know.
It was hard to watch because it was like you're taking so much pride in like this master move and taking out a big social player, but that's a player that would have voted with you in the future, which goes like there's not the evolution in this strategy there. Like there were so many other players you could have like that were not gonna like had any like they didn't know your game and they would have just jumped on the V vote like we saw like literally the next day.
Well,
so that was hard to watch. It was very hard to watch just to see how well they were starting the merge and then they just threw it away.
Well, because there was the Jamie move and then there was someone else too that V was like taking credit for going home and like
Ben
was like pleading the case for why they should come back as a villain eventually. And I'm like, because you voted out two people that were willing to work with you doesn't necessarily mean that you're a villain. It just means that you perhaps made dumb moves. Like
also, yeah, and that Ben move, Damien and Ben were so 100% Jamie's moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Ben and Jamie both were going to fucking like probably work with you more than anyone else. Like I think obviously it's hard to know like where you actually genuinely lie in the game, but Jose was not prioritizing V. Like Jose had V lower on the trust ranking. So I'm like, it's hard to gauge that obviously. So I don't fault V for that obviously, but
and that's actually a good point when you look at, because Jose in that one day merge, or one day tribes was like we had uneven tribes. So Jose jumped at the opportunity to pick a side on which way to vote and left V hanging,
right,
to protect Henry and Jacob. Like the writing was on the wall. Like that's where you stood with the allies that you thought you had. And like the next day they threw you under the bus.
Which is why I think that goes into like the stuff about the pre-merge where people just genuinely didn't understand that from like basically day one, Henry, Tim, Jacob, and Jose were closer to each other than they were to other people. But they're actually just good about, not going around saying, hey, I've got this person, let's vote off this person. Like they kept it under wraps, which is good.
Yeah. And like Tim winning immunity here was a huge safety net in that decision making. But that again just kind of showed where V stood with them.
Mm-hmm. Also, Christine.
And then I will touch on Scott. Scott, I feel like always plays a super social game. I didn't see a huge change, but like the one thing that I just don't understand still is the idol and being so confident in your positioning. But like, I don't say he redeemed himself because I feel like he's had stronger games. So I guess not, in a sense. Not that he needed to redeem himself, like Ian said, but Scott's always a fun player to have. But this time he was just outmaneuvered by other duos.
Yeah,
and got a really shitty. I think like Jose choosing to go on that side really hurt him as well. Like he could have had a chance with Pixie and Sammy if it was just 5 people.
Yeah.
But you hate to see
So we move on. Nick, would you like to continue?
Oh
Or
God.
do you want me to?
No.
What's that?
And I said, no, it's fine. Okay. So after the one-day tribes, we see Pixie and Sammy becoming the next 2 casualties, seemingly being the vote of least resistance for both rounds. Ian, were you surprised at either one of these 2 going home?
I mean, you got to be a little surprised at the Sammy vote, given that, it caught 0 votes in the first round.
Yeah.
Pixie, it kind of felt like it was coming for a little while. She was on the bottom for a little while and was kind of scraping by, trying to survive. But at some point, those players are going to have to get picked off if the top dogs actually want to keep moving forward. So I wasn't very surprised by Pixie. I thought Sammy was going to go earlier than he did, to be honest, just because it was kind of just like, I feel like he never really had really strong social connections besides Pixie. But yeah, I was certainly surprised the way that travel played out. I thought it was like a 3 p.m. travel, but I think it was a 2 p.m. So I got on and they were talking about the vote. And I was like, oh man, like they're being really open about all this stuff. And then I realized it was in the vote period. And I was like, oh, like both idols. I had to scroll up and I found that both idols got played. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, weren't you in the T-Specs being like, oh, why are we all excited about a 5-1-1 vote? It's like,
Yes, he was.
I was like, what's so significant about this? Like, it seemed easy. And then I realized that it was 2 idols. I was like, oh shit.
Ian said, who the fuck cares?
okay, but like even that Sammy vote, not to like, I don't want to like completely write over Pixie, but like Christine found the idol, an hour before tribal council. Like Christine was going home. And Christine forgot to search a lot during this season. And finds the idol an hour before, and then her own allies vote for Christine because they don't believe she actually has the idol.
That's what's so baffling to me, though. The couple factors. One, we really thought Henry was blowing up his spot during that revote period, and we were like, wow, like people might start catching on. He's showing his true colors. Nope. We thought Christine might be like, hey, why the hell did this vote go down to like a 7-2 to me or whatever it was after I told these 2 guys I had the idol? Maybe she'll try and turn on them. Nope. Like what was so baffling is how little impact what should have been a crazy tribal actually had on the season.
Yeah, like this should have. Well, it did for a second blow up Henry's game, but yeah, it didn't impact it as much as it should have because not only does he vote for Christine,
right?
Like, and honestly, if Christine goes home, that's the dumbest move for Henry's game anyway. It's because Christine was so like blindly loyal to him.
Yeah.
So like Christine finding the idol actually just like helped his game long term. But then like Sammy like blowing up. Like, I guess like I'm so happy with Sammy and Hal that I think they could have probably pushed a little harder for like to stay, but so proud that he like threw everything out there on what we all were seeing and nobody else was seeing. It's just sad that everybody was still so blind to it after that fact. Specifically Bliss.
D. Well, I think Sammy relatively, if you're asking about Suitman's alums who redeemed themselves, he was an early pre-merge boot, I'm pretty sure, back in like it was Vexstan.
Yep.
And so, a lot better placement here. Hats off.
I think the biggest gag of the season actually was how tight Pixie and Sammy actually were. Like I feel like they kept that under wraps pretty well on how tight that duo was.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that if they knew each other before the season, obviously, which I wasn't aware of personally, but Because like they actually like probably early on in this season were applying for John Viver which I'm also on production for like a Blood versus Water season, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know they were friends like that. But okay, which they didn't even end up getting cast.
Yeah.
They didn't even end up getting cast on that season though. So, but yeah, like I think it was definitely interesting to see Sammy, who went out. I think it was like episode 3 in Uzbekistan, got like 18th or 19th, something like that. It was like a bad placement, and I mean, made it to top 8. So I mean, hats off to him for that. But going off of that, Ian, what were your thoughts on the double idol play from Christine and Bliss? Well, I have found this in Idol.
No, not that.
Well, look, I didn't expect if Christine was going to find that idol that she'd actually play it. But then she did, and that's great. And I thought it was also good defensive play by Bliss to play the idol, even if you don't know if you're getting votes or not. Because if you know that the main target is getting all their votes negated, like you should play your idol.
Yeah.
And we've seen that in the past where people just don't and look foolish. So, I mean, it was cool that it worked out that way, I guess. I wish that in the revote it would have actually led to like some sort of game-changing move. But it was kind of funny that, Scott randomly giving his idol to Bliss ended up just being like the catalyst for this tribal council that he was like long gone for, I guess. Well, I guess not long gone. A couple tribals gone from. I don't know. It was fine. I think it was underwhelming in hindsight, though.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I don't disagree because I do feel like Sammy was the easy vote here, and then we ended up getting an amazing, fun double idol play, and then Sammy just goes home. What we all kind of expected. I just don't understand still, and I know I kind of brought it up earlier with like Christine told them, the boys, like Henry and Tam, that she found this idol.
Right.
And their whole thing is, I'm going to continue to vote for Christine because I don't know if she has the idol. Like, she could just be lying, even though she says, if you want to see it, I'll show it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then they still vote, and they're like, when they are deliberating, this is why I don't understand how Christine was still blindly loyal to them, is like, she pointed out the fact that she did say, I will show it to you, and you just didn't ask. Like, I give Christine so much credit because, like, if I found it and I threw that out there, like, I'll show it to you if you want, like, you need to respond back with, yes, show me.
Right.
Like, that's on you. Like, that's not Christine's fault. That's Henry and Tim's fault for not continuing. Like, Christine wasn't big on words. So, like, it's not like she was blowing up your inboxes on, like, more words to say. Like,
she's offering you something. But
acknowledge it and say, yes, let's see it.
The fact that she was so willing to, she's going out on a limb telling these guys about this idol, and obviously they didn't know, like you said, they didn't know at the time, but like if you ask, yeah, can I see the idol, and she shows it to you, like how, even if she's just telling you she has an idol, like that should be a big show of trust for somebody who, like you said, isn't exactly talking a lot. So if she's willing to go out there and tell you this, why are you not trying to do what you do in the future? Take her along, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. Like, I mean, it's Christine, so like she wasn't always having a good read of the game, if you will, for lack of a better, terminology. But I think that like it didn't really matter if they did or not, like vote her, because even then too, like I don't know if she was even necessarily thinking, it was Henry and Tim that voted against me too, like, or she cared, because like we just never really knew what the hell she was saying or doing at any given time. So, I mean, I don't fault her for the way she played, but like for Henry and Tim, I'm like, why would you not voluntarily take her to the end? I think like obviously had Bliss not won final immunity, that they probably would have moved Bliss over Christine. But ultimately, I don't even know, because Henry and Tim were close with Bliss anyway. So I have no idea. But the Bliss and Christine feud, honestly, probably one of the highlights of the season for me. Additionally, Astrid versus the entirety of Lacuna, also hilarious. Yeah. But, but additionally, after the idol play, like right after the idol play, we see Bliss and Vine meet up in real life. I don't know if we've ever had that happen before. Maybe we have with Suitman's, but maybe not in a season. Like obviously, Ian, you and Jacob have hung out in real life, for example, stuff like that. But like, do you think that two players that are still in the game meeting up, Ian? I'll start with you on this question. Was fair?
Probably not. It didn't matter in the end, and we'll get to that. But I thought it was going to lead down a kind of weird rabbit hole of, can they turn on each other now? Are they able to? What's the information sharing like? So on and so forth. And we talked a lot about that in Trusted Specs. I didn't really amount to a ton just because for some reason Bliss voted out Vine next round.
Yeah.
Which, I really thought she was going to leverage that into, having a final two where it's like, okay, you've got Vine. If you can side with Jacob and Jose, you guys have it. You guys have final four. But yeah, I don't know if it's really something that I like, but didn't really change anything.
I mean, respectfully, if I were to waste gas or money traveling to go see someone, and then they proceed to vote me out of a game, they're dead to me. You're on my shit list for life, and you owe me. I will be Venmoing you a request for the money I spent on that gas or airfare travel, because that is a waste of my time. For her to play in Vine's face like that, disrespectful.
Didn't Vine end up voting for her at Final Travel, or am I wrong?
Yes.
That's crazy. The Mist.
The Mist is real. Jason, what was your take on that?
I don't think it's not fair. I've played these games and I've had, May was in Toronto and lived very close to me. And we had talked about me going to her or their play when that they kept missing the game for, that they were rehearsing for. And you can communicate. It's nice when you have somebody in your hometown, because at least it gives you something to instantly connect with and bond with. And, we take the same streetcar, where it's easy to connect with. Mm-hmm. I never really took advantage of actually meeting up, because I felt this probably, is this fair? I don't know. But ultimately I'm I might vote them out. I don't know. This is really early in the game. But I can't say that meeting up in real life is unfair. They're in the same town. It could be used strategically to become closer, which Bliss obviously did, and then turned on him. And I don't think that's a bad gameplay. It's just obviously it got her a vote at the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think you play with what you're given. I know there was questions on Blissy showed them the idol, which again is fine as long as it's not the parchment.
Right.
The weird thing is that Vine only told everybody about that in the jury, as they're deliberating at Final Tribal Council, versus in the moment. I can't believe Bliss voted me out and she showed me the idol.
Right.
The timing was very, very strange, but yeah, I still think it's fine to meet IRL.
I guess so.
But what if you meet IRL though, and they brought you out that same round? You wasted money, time of your day.
The funny thing is and this is where it's a double standard. I would use it as a way to build a connection, and if I vote them out, I vote them out, and it's pure gameplay. But if I got voted out after that, I would definitely be as salty as you are. So
oh, bitch. Well, first of all, it didn't happen to me, to be clear.
I know you didn't.
All I know is
you're saying you would be salty. So I would feel the same way. So yeah, that's why it's tricky to do that and then expect the game to be kind of respect my gameplay over meeting IRL. I don't know. It's a hard thing to do, which is why I've never done it.
True.
But good for her for doing it and then getting their vote.
Oh my God. The mess was too real. Anyway, Jason, take it
Do we
away.
want to talk on the Vine vote for a second still?
Oh yeah, we should. We should actually talk about the vote.
Yeah, let's. Yeah, I'll let you start with the Vine vote.
About the silliness of the vote. I mean, I don't remember what the vote count was. I gotta think it was.
It was 5-2.
It was 5-2.
Yeah. Yep.
And was it just Christine or somebody who didn't?
It wasn't a self vote. It was Jose and Vine voted Christine. The other 5.
Oh, right. Not a good move. I don't think Vine ever had much win equity. And I don't know how at Final 4 or at Final 7, if you're like Jacob, Jose, Vine, and Christine, or and Bliss, I don't know how you don't come together. I mean, I guess once again, I don't think people were quite as aware of Christine just being like an extra vote for Henry and Tim as they were by Final 7.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you're part of Oceans 4 and the other 2 players are like just like supposedly sitting on their hands, I don't know how you don't take advantage of that and try and like pick up people with way less win equity to try and go to the end. It just seems like a missed opportunity, this vote. And I guess that's a testament to Henry and Tim just kind of pulling one over on people at the last opportunity they really had to make a move.
But the interesting thing is, like, Jacob and Jose for the first time voted separately. Like, Jose was blindsided by Jacob.
Oh, true. I
voting
totally
for Vine. So, like, why did Jacob jump into the Henry and Tim vote? Like, that was the weird thing. Like, Jacob, Jose, Vine, and Bliss could have easily made their move here, and only Jose saw it and went through with it.
All I know is that someone would have been cussed out by me. Someone would have been cussed out because I had no time for that nonsense. That's like when Ian sat there in Celebration 10 and sat there and tried to bond with me just to vote me out.
Literally, while travel was happening, asking him what his favorite Gatorade flavor is. All-time moment.
All-time moment.
Okay, I feel like that's what was really lacking this season, because that was very much Dynasties too. Like, you just sat on voice calls with your alliance, even though you knew you had blindsided your alliance. Like, where was that this season?
This season, I think the real overarching theme of the season was people trying not to be the one who blows up their own game and go home, so they're willing to just keep letting it be unanimous. Don't make any waves, and that's what it kind of ended up being. The stable players made it deep. Anybody who tried to blow up their own game went home. Very new era of them.
Very new era of them. Yeah, it was just hateful. Hateful behavior.
And then Bliss, obviously, like the elephant in the room, Bliss turning and voting on Vine the day after she met them.
True. Oh God! Like I said, I would have cussed someone out by then. Absolutely not.
Well, Jerry Chat, Vine wasn't exactly the happiest around Final Tribal, so
true. You bring a good point. Points were made. But at what cost?
Okay.
I forgot about
that. So now let's get to the mid-late merge here, unless there's anything else anybody wanted to talk about the Vine boot.
No.
That's okay.
All right. Let's get into Henry and Tim, because this is where they shined. Do you think that Henry and Tim were really the duo of the season?
I mean, they have to be, right? You know, I think that the Oceans 4 was split up of the 2 duos of the season, and the final 7, well, more so, yeah, I guess I would consider final 7 on was what really was going to determine which duo was the duo of the season, who's standing there at the finish line. And once Jacob turned on Jose and it all kind of went downhill, you could really feel Tim and Henry picking up steam while the other 2 were losing it. So I would say so.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, Jacob and Jose were so close in that duo of the season versus Henry and Tim until, and like, this is Jacob's first game, but Jacob was playing such a good game. And then he turns on Jose, votes out Vine, and then that is what handed Henry and Tim. So it's almost like poetic that the person that was arguably playing the best makes the biggest blunder of the game and hands the game to Henry.
Yeah, it was.
What are your thoughts, Nick?
Oh, it gives me a headache. It just gives me a fucking headache. Like, I don't know even like as a player, like putting myself in the player's shoes from this season, how in the fuck you cannot see that at any point in time, Henry needs to go before Final 5.
Right.
And under any circumstance, there is no reason why, when you have several people that have been lied to or on the bottom of the game the whole fucking time, why you would not think, maybe I should corral the people that have had no agency this entire merge and get them together to make a move together and take out the front part of the game. No, instead, I'm going to vote out this non-equity player and continue to play and be complicit and essentially hand the win to the other person on a platter while my ass is up for them. Like, what the hell? It was stupid and foolish. Dumb as hell. It made no sense. And I'm irritated.
Which kind of leads to my next question. Like, so do you think Tim shot himself in the foot by not trying to cut Henry at any point?
Yes. In what world? In what? Like, I watched Tim in Lorvivor literally weeks before.
Right.
First of all, Tim played a drastically different game here, and it was actually like entertaining and winning things. Whereas in Lorvivor, he was entertaining but wasn't doing a whole lot. Tim was doing shit this time. But so like this is a very dynamic player. But the one complaint or critique I have of Tim is that there was just so many opportunities that he had to cut Henry. And obviously, had it not been for Henry, Tim could have gotten sixth place in my tiebreaker if it was this tiebreaker instead of him playing the idol on him. But I'm like, you had chances to make a move. And it just felt like, not that he was following Henry, because they were literally a duo. They were both doing things. And Tim had like 5 or 6 immunity wins the whole season, which is crazy. But like it was just like, where was the agency? Like, you had agency, but like you were in a way choosing to not use it. To where you're just like, I'm going to be loyal to this person, may the best person win. I'm like, right. Obviously you don't know like what the perception of the jury is going to be, but like, Jesus Christ, like, I maybe I'm just a bitch and unloyal apparently or something in games, but I no. In no world would I sit there and go to the end with Jason in a game and not try and cut him. Like, be real.
Tell that to Patrick.
This is why I let you go in Blood versus Water.
And you're a bitch for that still 3 years later.
Oh, for real? Because what happened?
Yeah, you got second place, bitch.
That's my favorite spot. I just don't like. I never get voted out, but I'm gonna get to the final tribal council and I'm gonna put up a fight. You know that much.
Can't argue it. Watch you play 3 times and you've never gotten voted out. So.
Yep.
Disgusting. Yeah, I mean, like, it is really funny looking at the juxtaposition of Tim in Lorvivor, shout out Lorvivor, compared to here, where it was like Lorvivor, you couldn't trust him if you couldn't tell him what you had for breakfast without him telling everybody else, versus here where he was like so dead set on going to the end with Henry, and he was dead set on it before the idol play for him, and he was dead set on it after. Meanwhile, Henry did vocalize a lot about wanting to take out Tim at 4. Obviously, that didn't amount to anything, and it's fine. It worked out. But at least Henry was kind of dancing around the idea. Tim never even once mentioned the thought of taking out Henry, which is just kind of baffling. Like, he's clearly a better social.
It's actually crazy when Christine makes the move against Henry and Tim doesn't.
Right. Like
what?
Like, what are you doing?
Like, Christine had the awareness, like, Henry was going to win this game at Final Four.
Yeah, she had 11th hour, 59th minute. But if she realized it, if Tim throws a vote on Henry there, if Henry goes at 4, there's a legitimate shot Tim wins. I think Bliss would have had a couple people advocating for, the likes of Scott and Vine, I guess. But if Henry goes, the most respected, best player of the season, goes to the jury at 4, he says, damn, there's a solid chance he says respect to Tim for taking me out at the end. And that could sway a lot of people. So I don't know. It was just really big missed opportunity, obviously.
And honestly, Henry playing the idol on Tim to get Jacob out, that was a game-winning move there too, because Henry could have saved the idol for the next round, but knew he had Tim in his back pocket and Christine in his back pocket, and at 5, that's all you need is those 3 votes. And they still didn't see him throwing the idol at Tim to protect him was enough. Henry saved you. He could have let you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your argument against Henry at a final tribal council when that happened?
You can't you can't win at that point. You have to take him out.
And I know at that final tribal council, or not, I guess not the final tribal council, but that last day, there's a lot of stuff going and you're voting super fast, but you need to be right in the game when you're making these decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and Tim even admitted like he was putting his kid to bed and was asking for more time in between challenges, even though this was all laid out very specific timing and he knew what he was getting himself into. But like, maybe Tim's head wasn't in the game on that last day because he just let Henry walk his way to the end.
It also was like, Henry got first boot in that Final Four challenge, and I was like, we all, in trusted specs, were like, okay, there's like legitimate opportunity here. Like, he might have just choked the game away.
Mm-hmm.
But, we've all three been in finales in Suitman's. Like, we know how quick it goes.
Yeah.
Some of us have made potentially game-losing mistakes because of that speed. Some of us have won games in that speed. So it's like, we understand that shit happens, but you got to come in, like Jason said, you got to come in with a game plan, figure out what the potential boots are before the live finale starts. And like, you got to be on your A game. Otherwise you might piss the game away.
Yeah, I feel like, this is where like Henry's in a better spot because I think he was really thinking all of this through. But like in dynasties, almost to a detriment to some players, like we were all so honest about how we all saw each other. Mm-hmm. And that really helped me with, I'm like, okay, I need this person out and this person out, so I have a better chance at the end. Unfortunately, Nolan wasn't paying attention and let Sean get to the end. But
I mean, you were a rock draw away from potentially being the best player in Suitman's history.
Yeah. I was like, okay, we just need Sean out here. Like, yeah. But like Sean was blowing up my inbox trying to get me to vote for Ben. And I'm like, I'm not an idiot, but he was wasting a lot of time by filling that inbox up. So good for him. But like, you need to be really aware 24 hours before that final tribal council or final day of competition, because if you have no awareness of where you stand, then you're screwed. That's really what it felt like.
I'll give Sean this. He did what I couldn't do in Valhalla, which was get Ben out at 4. So I would have had a Nolan on my side, I guess. Sigh.
Poor guy.
So I guess we haven't really talked too much about the Jacob and Jose, but what thoughts on them falling at 6 and 5? Because they seem to really be T-spec favorites.
Flops. No. I genuinely love them both so much. I think they were such a huge part of what made this season enjoyable at points. They're both probably some of the best personalities I've seen in orgs, period. But I love them both. It was just unfortunate to see them falter like that. Like I said, I think them not taking out or trying to take out Henry at any point was the fatal flaw. Like, you know that you're like, you and your duo are in an alliance of 4 with this other duo. You know at some point that you're going to have to cut someone. Why would you not try and do it earlier?
Totally.
Like, why are you continuously letting fate happen to where, like, you're dwindling your options and your opportunities to make this move that you know that you have to make to win? Like, in no world were they going to make it to the end against Henry and win. Maybe, depending on, their likability of the jury. But, like, overall, come on now. There's no way.
For sure.
I love them, though. Love them both. But.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all you can really ask for in a season 1 is like good characters that kind of set the tone of the gameplay, the just having different characters, like likable, rootable characters, or even villains in a season 1. That's all you can really ask for. We got that out of them. Got that out of a decent amount of folks, but I was rooting for them hard. I really wish they would have been able to pull it out.
No, exactly. It was
I agree. Like Jacob and Jose were so much fun. They were so entertaining. They gave us a lot in confessionals. You saw like how they were playing, and like they were very, very entertaining. It's just like, yeah, we were all sad to see them go, but it made sense. Like, unfortunately, Jacob made a huge blunder by not looping in Jose and being misted by Henry. Like, you got to give Henry his flowers by being able to take out a strong duo like that and like laying the groundwork to get it done when he did it, which is what ultimately won them the game. But it was unfortunate to see them go at 5 and 6, but all you want is entertainment, and they gave us that, and I'm sure we'll see them again. Love to see them in the server. They're being very active, so happy to have them in the Prestige family to start it all off.
No doubt.
But you guys need to be better at finding things on the board.
Oh my fucking god. Don't get me started. Don't get me fucking started. Speaking of the board, Ian, did you enjoy the tribe map? Were you satisfied with the amount of items that were on the board, or do you prefer the hunting grounds and Suitmans? What was your take on that in the season?
I think I was satisfied with the amount of items on the board. I wasn't satisfied with the amount of items removed from the board. Jack was hyping up his whatever advantage all season, saying, somebody's got to find this. Somebody's got to find this. And then nobody ever found it. I don't even know what it was called. And I don't know if I actually have like a complete grasp on how these hunting grounds work. But I liked it. I liked that it was different because Suitman's always felt so random. I mean, I guess there's an element of randomness to this too, but it was like you could get it on day one. The clues never really seemed to help that much in Suitman's. So I like the change. I'm just like, I wish these items would have been found. I think it would have potentially changed the game. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the change. I think like in Suitman's, the problem is because it wasn't as big, like, items were found immediately. Like in Merge, everybody gets it at the beginning of the Merge, and then like by the third episode, there's nothing to find. Like it's been picked clean, so it's kind of just a wasted thing, and you're hoping that an idol gets thrown back in there, or there's one thing potentially missing. But at least with this one, items were found later, which was kind of nice to see. But the problem with that is some items just don't get found.
Right.
There's got to be a middle ground.
Like Christine finding that idol in like the 12th episode, like, that would never happen.
Right.
Yeah.
You got by episode 2.
Yeah. Like I had my burning idol on the first day. The first day of Merge, I should say.
He said, I walked in day one. I got off the goddamn boat on the beach, and I had it right away. Okay. Ian, do you think that Bliss voting Christine at 4 was the correct decision and not forcing fire instead?
No, I don't. How can it be?
You're saying what we're all thinking.
Bliss had immunity, right?
Yes, correct.
So it's like, you've got immunity at Final Four. Yeah. Look, I've been in that situation, made the wrong choice. Actually, I know I made the right choice. But but the fact of the matter is, if you're sitting there at Final Four with immunity, you have to go for the biggest threat. There's voting out Christine is the safe, I hope I get the final tribal council move. That's the Tim move or the Henry move. But if you're Bliss, I don't understand how you don't say, I have the most control right now. Let's go for the biggest move that can potentially, swing the game in my favor. It just feels so safe at a point where you don't need to be. Like you're in final tribal. I don't get it.
And like Bliss obviously didn't think that she was going to be the one voted out, but if Bliss didn't win that, she was gone.
Yes.
Like, girl, open your eyes.
Like there's no point in being safe right now. You are immune. Why take out Christine? Like, oh.
And 15 minutes ago, because you're playing so fast, the 3 of them voted out Jose. Like you have this in front of your face. It just happened.
She was working with Jose and Jacob at Final 6 to take them out, and all of a sudden she's the one. Let's address that. She's the one that blew that up at Final 6. She told Henry plays his idol on Tim. I think they actually would have been able to pull it off, to be honest with you. And the season looks completely different. So she blows it up. She tells them he idols.
I forgot about that part.
So then you're at Final 5. The move that you tried to make doesn't work. Then they take out your other ally you were trying to work with. Writing's on the wall. Like I don't know how you don't try and make a move there.
Right.
And like that gets you respect. Even if Henry wins the fire making against Christine, that still gets you some respect for at least trying. Like
also probably
taking it back to dynasties. At least I forced to make sure that it was a rock draw. Like I wasn't going with Sean by voting Ben out. Like you got to make the smart move at that point.
Totally. I mean, I feel like we had this conversation. I can't even remember where, but I was talking with somebody and they were like, it's better at Final Four to just go with the numbers than to try and make the move and be wrong. Oh, this was in Lorvivor last season. It was like, I'm like, it's better. Somebody said it's better to go 3-1 than try and do the rock draw and fail, but that's just not true. If you do the rock draw and fail, or the fire making challenge and fail, Christine might vote for Bliss there. You know, that's a little something extra. You're at least making some sort of effort to show that you have agency. You're on the right side of the numbers, or you're at least trying to take out the biggest threats. I mean, the worst thing you can do is go with the numbers at Final Four when it's clearly not in your favor.
Right. Yeah. It's just, it was painful to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Painful to watch.
The final 6.
Well, it's unfortunate that you're going against Tim and Henry as well. Like, Tim should have seen this as his opportunity as well. Like, it could have easily been a 3-1 swing for Henry going home. And that would have been the most optimal for the majority of everybody that was left other than Henry.
Yeah.
And that would have sparked a very interesting conversation of who would have won in that final 3. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
The world might never know.
They won't. Spoiler. Henry won.
Let's touch on
won.
Final Tribal Council.
Yeah.
Tim, Bliss, Henry, how did you, what were your thoughts on everybody's, I wouldn't say arguments, but their performances at Final Tribal Council? Ian?
I mean, Henry's a lawyer. I think he presented his case very well, and I think he stayed composed. I think it was always going to be an uphill battle for the other two, which is why it ended the way it did, was because if you're going to be Bliss or Tim in that case, you not only need to have a great performance, but you need Henry to have a really bad performance, or people to come in mad, and they just weren't. I think the jury respected the fact that Henry played the way he did, and I think that the fact that there was opportunities to take him out, but his social game kind of shone through, it made it a really easy decision. So it just didn't go the way that Tim and Bliss needed with a bad Henry performance, which is why he's the best winner in Prestige history.
Hands down.
Putting it out there. He's the number 1 winner of all time in Prestige.
Period. Okay.
I definitely I'm actually surprised and impressed. I do think Bliss and Tim did perform very well in the Tribal Council. I will give them that. Their problem was they were up against Henry, and you bring up such a good point that Henry was so poised the entire time and didn't bite at any opportunities to look poor in front of the jury, and him being a lawyer definitely helps.
Oh, yeah.
But also the worst secret that he's not an events coordinator. But maybe being a lawyer is a surprise, but an events coordinator, nobody was buying. But I will give them their flowers too. They put on a good fight. They were just up against somebody they were not going to beat. Tim showed more in that Final Tribal Council than I think we saw most of the season.
Yeah.
True.
How about you, Nick?
I mean, I think, obviously, fellow lawyer, Henry, he did what you're taught in law school, which is to create a compelling argument, to believe in your argument, and not really crack under pressure or push back, which I think he executed masterfully. So, A+ gameplay from Henry. I think that, you guys both said already, Bliss and Tim both gave a good fight, honestly. I think it was just the fact that, Henry just ultimately played a more dominant, I almost said Dominic, LOL, dominant, overall well-rounded game. Tim, I think, played a more dominant physical game. I think the social and the other elements were maybe not as in tune as Henry's were, but they weren't bad by any means either. I think Bliss had the social game, but the other two lacked in certain areas. It wasn't a complete massive strategy the whole time for Bliss, but there were certain game moves that they definitely led me to scratch my head in terms of flipping on Vine too soon, not trying to vote Henry and force fire at Final Four. Granted, would Christine have won fire at Final Four? I think there's not a last chance in hell that she would, given her challenge prowess or lack thereof throughout the season. unless it was like touchy subject somehow or something. But even then, she lost that. So I think that like they all did a good job. I think the jury was asking good questions. I'm happy to hear that it was not toxic or messy either. But yeah, I think it was good. I like that at least everyone got at least one vote. I think it's the right person in my eyes based on my objective opinion of gameplay won. It was good. It was perfect. So no notes from me. But yeah, I thought that the right person won, but I think all three did well. But Ian, thoughts on the season as a whole, and where would you place it in the tier rankings?
I liked the season. I know it was very straightforward in the merge in terms of the biggest, like the best players actually are the ones who are running the numbers and making the correct moves for the most part. It was a relatively boring season, but I had no like real negatives about it. And I think that's about all you can ask for in a first season, right? And it was very first season. We want to have characters, we want to have a good winner, we want to drive up engagement, and then keep the ball rolling with what will be an even better season 2. I'd probably place it like, okay, what are the different tiers? I always forget. There's like average,
legendary, superb, good, average, and poor.
I'd probably put it in good. I mean, good to like kind of that straddling the good to average line probably, but I like to give it the benefit of the doubt and go good. We got good characters, got a good winner. No like toxicity. Yeah.
I would also like, I'm not gonna like reveal like what we did obviously in terms of production, but I think good, in my opinion, is the most accurate. I don't think it was superb because it was entertaining, but it was not unpredictable at any point aside from the idol round, which we even knew what was going to happen anyway because Christine had talked about previously that she had an idol and she was playing it. So like it wasn't unpredictable as a viewer. But so I would say it was good because there was a great cast that we had. The cast was great and entertaining in their own right, but like the gameplay was not superb. So for me, good. Jason.
Yeah, I would say like winner cast like straddles that superb legendary line right now, but like the winner was phenomenal. But when you have such like such a command on the season, it lacks in gameplay. So that's where the gameplay kind of struggles. So I would put the game in the season in the good tier, but like winner top tier for sure. Like he played such a masterful game, but at the detriment of the season actually being entertaining.
Agreed.
Yeah, I have a feeling that his win is going to be the type of win that for the next several seasons, people are trying to surpass it, potentially failing. Because we thought he had a good chance to win very early on, and that never really deterred. I mean, if you look at like Josh's Edgic, for example, I think he's a contender every single episode.
Yeah.
So I think
consistently the average number 1 ranking from the beginning of the game.
No, totally. And I mean, even look at like in the pre-merge too, like Bliss on the other side was a number 1. That clearly had an impact. Tim, I think, was relatively high throughout. And you see these players go deep, but I think that Henry's win is the type of win that people are like going to be unable to surpass for the next several seasons, just because of like you need everything to go right to have a win like this.
It was the D of the new era.
It was. It definitely was.
Okay. Jason, I'm gonna start dealing with this question. Yes. Who would you bring back for All-Stars?
Okay. Do we bring winners back for All-Stars?
Yeah. There were winners on the original Survivor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How many people? I'll just give you 3 names. I think that's fair enough. Henry, for sure. Like, we need to see Henry perform like that again if they have that ability. Now that everybody knows he's a lawyer. Christine, just kidding.
Oh no.
Jose and Jacob. Okay, those are my 3.
That's fair. Ian?
If I was to boil it down to three, I'd have the same three, but just to be different, I'll throw a couple more in there. I think that that's kind of hard, actually, other than them three. I mean, like, Tim would be fun, too, but I don't need to see Tim and Henry come back together because I don't even think if they came back together, it would become a story of, like, Tim overthrowing Henry. Like, I don't think that's how it would go. So other than those three, like, I would like to see some of the earlier boots come back. I know this is an all-star season. I mean, even like earlier merge, like a Pixie, a Jamie could be really fun. Obviously, if we're delving into the pre-merge, like Brian would be the number one name. Yeah, but for the most part, the Oceans 4 were kind of the stars of the show, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, to be different and quirky, Jamie, Jacob, and Jose would be the three.
So different.
I know. I had to switch it up on you guys. But for second chances, who would be your three? So I'll start with Ian on this one.
Second chances. I'm just going to pull up the whole list just to have it. Brian would be the number one name. I mean, to go right before the merge too, and to be one of the more affable players. Giving in confessionals, actually kind of shaking up dynamics a little bit. Brian would be the number one. Other than that, let's see. Like, some people would like an Astrid back, and Astrid was a Suitman's alum too, who played the exact same way. But it could be interesting, and I'm kind of here for it, especially because she had some positive positive fans.
Yeah.
Other than that, man, I don't know. Like a Damien, like there's not like a lot of the people in the pre-merge who went out didn't go out in like an exciting enough way for me to be like, ooh, like I got to see them back. Besides like a Brian, and then I still think that Jamie could fall into the second chance category for sure.
Okay, Jason.
Yeah, I think Brian, hands down, only was voted out because of rogue votes that they didn't even do. Like, was so blindsided that this man deserves another chance.
I hope he listens to this.
And I want to see, I wanted a tie so bad because Brian's tiebreaker vote was so good.
Oh yeah,
it would have led to Bliss winning, but it would have been such a funny vote. Such a petty vote, considering it was voted out by Henry and Tim for the rogue votes. But anyways, Brian gets number one. I'd like to see Ben back. I feel like Ben got done pretty dirty after putting their trust in Jamie and then getting completely sideswiped. And then I would throw Jamie in there just because they had such a dominant swap just to get screwed by her own allies.
Yeah,
right.
Who she fought so hard to keep in the game, and then they all just turn on her immediately. Nick?
Oh, well, Brian, obviously. Love of my life. Ben, also, I love Ben. Hot take. Not hot take. Ben was entertaining. He just kind of made a dumb move by flipping on Damien. That was a stupid move by Ben, but I love Ben, regardless. I've played with him before twice, so justice for Ben. Jamie, I think, would also fit second chance bill. Matt is someone we haven't said that I think Matt kind of got screwed a little bit. I would be intrigued to see Matt come back. And a circumstance that doesn't essentially throw you onto a different tribe because you find the parchment.
I mean, Matt got screwed for sure, but Matt also did himself no favors. I would like to see Matt play again because I do think it was rough, but everything that you could have done wrong, he did wrong.
Look, I'm not saying that he played well, okay? I'm just saying that had that not happened, the parchment situation in general, had he not taken the snake, he was in a good position on his tribe. So, I
thought Matt was pretty low, but that was so long ago, so...
He was in Alliance.
Astrid's rankings, for sure.
Well, Astrid was on the bottom of everyone's rankings, so...
Her doing the whole thing about how she was he left and then she was like, yeah, we would have booted him and stuff, and people were we're not pleased. That's kind of set people off against her, I feel like.
Yeah, you are correct. But yeah, I would say Matt. Honestly, Andrea and they're like most of the pre-merge, honestly, I would be enticed to see again, aside from Jared, Jinja, and Kay.
I'd like to see Colby back. I mean, we didn't mention him, but obviously circumstances, like, you know, he was playing well, and we know Colby is a really entertaining player who could have actually shaken up the game. So, when my winner pick, I'd like to see him come back if he's able to. Yeah,
that'll be interesting to see how he fares in a different season. But yeah, I think overall though, that's kind of the people. I love how we talked about doing 3 names. I listed off the entire fucking pre-merge, but like 4 people. So
everybody can come back.
Everyone.
The Shadowlands. What happened last season? Let's see if Henry wins again.
We're just gonna bring back Think Cats. That. No, Jason, would you like to ask Ian the final question?
Ian, are you looking forward to the Shadowlands?
I am locked in for the Shadowlands. I'm expecting crazy twists, great production from specifically 2 people who could potentially be planning the season, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And do you have any predictions on what could come from the Shadowlands?
I mean, it could be like a returning type of thing. Like, you know, you get voted off, you're in like the Shadow Tribe or something. That would be cool. But like, would like an Edge of Extinction / Outcasts twist in the 2nd season be something that we do? I don't know. But that, you know, that'd be a fun way for it to play out.
Interesting.
I think it'll be explosive.
Could we potentially see an Ian application?
Oh, that's a good question.
In the Shadowlands or a future season of Prestige?
I don't know if I'm going to be applying to season 2.
What?
But like, I don't know how the timing works out. But yes, I will definitely be applying in the future. It just needs to be the right time because, you know, it's a give and take. Before it was so hard to make live challenges, so I didn't play in like season 30 or 34. But now it's like, ooh, the game's a little longer. It's hard to be like consistently on my phone, like messaging people or whatever. But I gotta play at some point. I'd love to.
Just drop your availability in our DMs, and we'll create a season.
Ian Island's finally coming.
Yeah. I'm still so sad that the last season of Suitman's wasn't like Legends, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna accept this this season. I'll play it, and I was expecting to see Ian introduced, and then we'd finally get to play the game together, and it was fucking no Ian, just winners.
Honestly, I wanted to key Kieran's card because I don't know if Ian was in the mix too, but I was in the mix for a while. I'm assuming Ian was for sure as well.
I thought this was the Legends season.
Like Kieran reached out to you about playing?
Yeah.
I don't think he ever reached out to me.
But this is before he had enough people. Because I like made it abundantly clear. I was like, if there's a possibility, I want to play, so don't have me on prod.
Right.
And I was not taken back into prod until like a few days before the season started. So
it's funny because like everybody on the cast kept asking, because I was one of the 3 production members on the season. They were like, you know things. And I'm like, if you read the bio that the T-Specs are reading right now, I literally talk about how I'm going to get targeted for being a winner, because I thought it was Legends. I didn't think it would be all winners. Yeah, that's how out of the loop I was on this
targeted for being a winner
amongst all but 2 winners.
I actually don't remember. I don't think he ever reached out to me about playing. I had made it clear that I'd like to play, and what I remember being told was that the plan was to do all winners. If they couldn't get enough winners, then, you know, move towards second placers or like Legends or whatever. And, you know, it got to the point where they had enough winners except for a couple, so they just brought in the wild cards, which makes sense. I would have played, and I think it would have been a lot of fun. I think that it would have been really interesting to see like a lot of these old school players, because I feel like I was kind of in the middle where, you know, I'm not new school, I'm not old school, played right in the middle, and was responsible for bringing a lot of people in. So I think I would have had a pretty good standing with people and no real bad blood. So it would have been fun. I've been looking to play with both of you guys for 4 years.
Yeah, I hadn't played with Ian until our brief stint on Skullfiber season 20, but
and we were killing it.
We were low-key metagaming out of that game, but I digress.
So I think that's what I like. The good thing about Dynasties and this season, the Amazon, like there was just no toxicity. And there's been so many returning seasons that are very toxic. And other like regular seasons that are. So like it was just kind of refreshing to play in a returning non-toxic season and then have like our first season. Like the jury was respectful. It was a good final tribal council. Like it's nice. It's fun to have seasons that are like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was fortunate to not have, because obviously I returned twice. Now, neither of my seasons were like toxic. There was at one point when Andrew, who Ian played with in Valhalla, Andrew like posted a gif of Janelle from Big Brother on season 6 using the R word. So at the time, I reported Andrew to Kieran and made Andrew lose his vote, so my alliance at Merge would have the majority. But yeah, Andrew was really the only kind of like toxic presence, and even then too, like he wasn't that bad in Second Chance aside from that instance. But overall, though, like I had not really any toxic people to deal with, which is great for me. But I think if I were to return for any other returning season later on, it would have been bad. But I digress.
I think especially coming off, we came off of Namibia and then Last Gasp, which both, in my opinion, left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, Namibia, for sure, just the way the Macau quit on played out. And then Final Tribal Council, I was not exactly pleased with.
Why is that?
I love Josh, too. Joshua and Josh. I'm happy Joshua won, too, but, it was interesting. And then last Gasp, mostly the discourse afterwards, which, lasted 4 months, was...
it really only ended when one person left the server.
Curious. So I didn't even know that happened. Anyways, so to come in...
Did you notice the aura has been so much calmer and nicer?
No, the way that me and Ian were... expect friendships in Dynasties, it was bad.
Oh God, yeah. But Dynasties, you're right, was a very, like, it was a good season. There was people who wanted to play. Anybody who could have been toxic went out late pre-merge. And so it led to like really fun players trying hard for the most part.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it'll be fun, but it's definitely been a lighter time, which we love to see Prestige have a good first season that was non-toxic and just had a fun cast. So no complaints from me. But Ian, do you have any final thoughts before we close today? Oh, sorry, Jason, were you saying something?
I was literally going to ask what Ian's final thoughts on the season were.
Oh,
so we're on the same page.
Good.
You're right. It was a good season, lighter times. It's about to get very dark in the Shadowlands, but hopefully that doesn't mean any sort of toxicity. So I'm excited. I think Prestige is off to a great start. Great production team. Like it's going to be impossible for you guys to not put together a really strong season with a lot of effort, very immersive. So my tip to anybody who wants to play is apply and see what happens. It'll be fun.
Fuck around and find out.
Yeah, fuck around and find out, for sure.
Jason, final thoughts?
I just want to give the Amazon castaways their flowers. Like, you guys played a great season. I almost said very entertaining. It was entertaining. It was a first season, but you were all... but no, it was fun to spectate. It was fun to host. You all were really great first cast, and I'm so excited to see this be the starting point of Prestige and see where we continue to go. Obviously, Nick and I know what's planned for the next season. So I was really excited.
But I fully forgot.
What's that?
My brain was fully like, wait, we do, but I like my brain was just not processing what you were saying, and I was like, what?
I mean, we don't know who's winning or anything, but we know what's happening. Like, we've put the season together. It's all mapped out. It's all ready to go. We know everything.
Everything's already done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for you all to kind of see that. I'm excited to see who applies. And I feel like this is my first real true baby. Like, I helped with Last Gasp. That was still very much Kieran's. So excited to, I guess next steps is I'm excited to do some post-season interviews and podcasts with some of the players, and then get into the Shadowlands.
When do app close for the Shadowlands?
What's that?
When do applications close for Shadowlands, or are they even open yet?
They're not open
They
yet.
aren't open yet.
The season premieres in May. I'll say that.
Plenty of time for those who want to play.
Yes. So there'll be more information about applying in April. So keep your eyes peeled for that, folks. Honey, you've got a big storm coming. But anyway, I'm excited to have some of the alumni from the Amazon join us for the podcast later on, and just kind of show everyone what me and Jason have been working on since the literal new year. So it's been nearly 3 months of us working on this season, and many video chats, not video chats, voice calls. My brain not working, but many a voice call about planning the season for hours. And yeah, so we put a lot of time into it, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. So apply. I want a good cast and non-toxic people. So give us a legendary season, please. But all I want in life. But for now, I want to thank Ian for joining us today. Finally, it's been a month or two almost in the making. Thank God you're here. Love having you on as always.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. I mean, I know I've been kind of dancing around. Every time you guys want to do it is like the one time I can't, it seems like. So, any other time, any other day. But no, I enjoyed it. I always love coming on, and you guys always put on a great show.
Thanks, buddy.
We literally moved our mountains to get you on for this episode.
Thank God the mountains have been moved.
And we did it because you were very active in the T-Specs this season. You were very active in following the season. So I think we chose the right person to talk about this end game. So thank you.
Agreed. And Jason, thank you as always for being my lovely co-host. I cannot wait to show the children what we've been working on for ages. It feels like now. My God, we put in so much time. But thank you for joining me on not only the podcast journey, but also the Shadowlands journey and doing it with me. So
excited to let the children in on our little secrets.
Oh, it's going to be so fun. But for now, we will see you all next time, and thank you for listening. But for now, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.